This is Kentucky FFA Executive Secretary Matt Colliff. Today I'm going to be talking about some activities that we need to do in AET to wrap up our year. So at the end of each calendar year, it's very important that we go into AET and do a couple things to make sure that we're in good shape on our project. We're going to go to the Profile tab, then the Project Experience Manager button. We're going to click on that. So at the end of the year, we're going to go to this clipboard icon, and we're going to write an annual review of the project. Now this is very important because this is going to show up on a state degree, American degree, and proficiency applications down the road. And it's what's going to be judged at all those levels to show the project. So for Gabrielle, her work at the Community Food Bank, we're going to click here on this icon. And we're going to say for 2020, something like this. We want a very detailed description. So she's going to say, I volunteered to work 2 hours per week at the Community Food Bank. She could go into more detail there. Generally, we're looking for 2, 3, 4 sentences each project each year. Now, it's very important that you really get into the description of what you're doing, because ultimately these descriptions get judged based on, do you show growth in your skill level, growth in your investment in the project, growth in your knowledge. So we want to demonstrate that. Gabrielle's just getting started, so one sentence saying I work 2 hours per week is probably going to be okay, but she could definitely include some other things. Maybe something like this: I help sort, package, and distribute food on a weekly basis. Okay, and then in the future years, she might include more details or things that she had learned or detailed. But again, that's going to show up on her proficiency on her American degree down the road. For an entrepreneurship project, for a placement project, we won't type this one out, but for her flower shop, she's going to want to detail exactly what she's doing at Mount Vernon Florist. She's going to want to talk about things that she's learned how to do, skills that she's developed, and be real specific in that. So talk about the various things that she's learned. If she's maybe on down the road in the project, she learns about how to price arrangements, or she begins working with customers, or even delivering flowers, she's going to want to include all that in that description so that can be judged. For her poultry production, it's going to be really important, since she owns it. We put in a numeric quantity, so she's got 10 hens, I believe. But in her description, she's going to want to detail exactly what she's doing. So for Gabrielle, it would be something like, this year I purchased 10 laying hens. She would want to talk about how she got her feed. So if she paid cash for the feed or she exchanged labor for the feed. If you've watched the other videos, you know that Gabrielle's grandmother gave her a chicken feeder. So she could say, my grandmother gave me a chicken feeder. I secured an FSA youth loan in order to buy a chicken coop and other needed supplies. So we want to go through all that and talk about exactly what we did. She'd also want to talk about how she marketed her eggs, and then any kind of difficulties that she faced. For example, if maybe a fox got in the hen house and ate 3 of her laying hens, she would want to detail that here. So again, we're looking for a good narrative description that just walks us through exactly what Gabrielle has done each year for project. Again, over time, this is going to get scored based on growth in her knowledge and her management and in the project. So we want to tell a really good story. The way I describe it to folks is, if a judge who doesn't know anything about you or about your project, if they read your descriptions, they should know and understand exactly what you're doing and have a good picture of that. The other thing that we want to do in terms of a year-end thing, and this will be very important for Gabrielle, is go to this icon that looks like a line graph. So we're going to click on that. This is the value of items of current items that Gabrielle had on hand on December the 31st, 2020. This would be things like, in her case, would be things like feed, but it could be supplies for a student growing grain. It could be grain that's in the bin, tobacco that's in the barn. It could be market livestock that's about ready to be sold. but we want to capture the value of that at the end of the year, so we have that end of the year snapshot. This is very important on degree and award applications because it sort of shows us a picture of where we got from December 31st of 2020 to 2021 to 2022, all the way through the project. But it would also be a really handy tool in real life for a banker, because if you're going in to apply for a loan, they're going to want to know what your financial standing is, and this would help you give them a much better picture and a much better idea. So we're going to add an asset just to show you how to do it. We're going to add some feed, and we're going to say that Gabrielle had some feed on hand. We're going to say she had 50 pounds of chicken feed, and we're going to say that that was worth, we'll say it was worth $20. So we're just going to, again, just putting in numbers to show you how to do it. So we're going to click Add Item. That then is going to show $20 as end of the year inventory for Gabrielle. All that's going to transfer to her award and degree applications, and it's going to be really clear. There's no guesswork in terms of what she had at the end of each year. Now, if she happened to have some eggs on hand, maybe she had 24 eggs on hand on that date, she could go in and put those in as well. So we'll just show you how to do that. Eggs, you could put them as a harvested and growing crop, I guess. They're not exactly a crop. We're going to put them as merchandise purchased for resale, even though that's not exactly right for eggs, but we're going to put them there. We're going to say 2 dozen. We're going to say eggs. If I could spell eggs, that would be helpful. And then for the value, we're going to say that those are, I think we've been saying $3 a dozen. We're going to say $6. Again, we're going to add that, and we're going to have that, again, as an end of the year value for Gabrielle. Gabrielle's just going to want to make sure that each year she's consistent in the things that she's putting in. So she's tracking feed, eggs, anything like that she has in terms of supplies on hand on December 31st of each year. All these things are going to help us get an end of the year picture, which is going to be valuable to us in terms of a proficiency or a degree application down the road, and going to help Gabrielle as she applies for those scholarships and awards on out through her FFA career.